If there's any gaps in front of us, move forward, inshallah, fill all the gaps. Fill all the gaps, please, brothers. Please put away your phones. Inshallah, if we listen attentively, our elders, they say in every talk that we sit, we should make intention that Allah give me hidayat. The reason why we've collected here, the reason why I am speaking, why you are listening, our intention should be to gain hidayat. This talk is not like ilmi majlis. Recently, I was going to deliver a bayan in one place. So a father was trying to encourage his young lad to attend. So he said, the young lad said to the dad, he said, is it going to be a tablighi talk? What's going to be the topic? Because if it's going to be a tablighi talk, it's going to be boring. I want to learn something new. So I said to him that we have to gain knowledge. We ourselves gain knowledge and we encourage other people also. Attend the majalis of the ulama ikram, attend the dars, connect with your imam sahib. That's a different thing we've got to do, all of us. But this majlis is not for that. Here you won't hear anything new, probably. But we're repeating what we already know in order to increase our iman. So brothers, I'd like your undivided attention, please. Brothers at the back, please, if you want to talk, I'll be happy to listen, inshallah. And brothers, please don't take your phone out. Masjid Salaam also, always I accept the invitation because you brothers, mashallah, always give a warm welcome and you also always listen attentively. So if you will give me your undivided attention, then at the end I'll ask for your intentions. If your attention is there, your intentions will come. Otherwise, if you're not making intention at the end, you have no one to blame but yourself, that you didn't listen properly. So if there's any gaps, please brothers, fill the gaps. Move a bit forward, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmadullah al-Ali al-Azim wa nusalli wa nusallim ala rasulih al-Habib al-Kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa azwajihi wa dhurriyyatihi wa ahli baytihi wa ashabihi wa asharihi wa asha'ihi wa atba'ihi wa ahbabihi wa muhibbihi wa ummatihi wa ala kulli man ittaba'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin wa alayna ma'ahum ajma'in. Amma ba'd. And the thing that we've come here to understand, one of the things that we have to understand is that in the world, many people claim to be wealthy and rich. Many people claim to be honorable. Many people claim to be fortuitous, fortunate, lucky. But all their claims are nothing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The wealthiest person, the most honored person, and the luckiest person is a person of Iman. That's the first thing we have to understand. That we are all people of Iman, so we are the richest people alive. Our elders, they have coined a phrase, सब कुछ के होते हुए अगर ईमान नहीं है तो हकीकत में कुछ भी नहीं है. If a person has everything of this world, even if he lives to 1,000 years, never suffers a headache, he's the king of the whole world. The day that he will die, the whole world will mourn. Dignitaries from around the whole world will attend his funeral. Children will be brainwashed in schools into thinking that he was some super duper human being. Books will be written about him. Cenotaphs and statues will be erected. And the whole world will mourn and the world will say he is successful. But Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam are saying, if he's gone without Iman and Islam, Allah ko nahi manta, Allah ki nahi manta. Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam ko nahi manta, Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam ki nahi manta. Did not believe in Allah during the journey of his life, whatever period Allah Ta'ala had given him, his long life, in that he discovered everything. But he didn't discover his Lord and his Creator. He bonded with everyone, but he didn't bond with his Lord and his Creator. So the world is saying he is successful, but Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying he is unsuccessful. And so unsuccessful that you and I can't even begin to imagine. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Inna ahwana ahli nari adabim man lahu na'lan wa shirakan min nar. Yaghli minha dimaghuhu kama yaghlil al-mirjal. لا يرى أن أحدا أشد عذابا منه وإنه لأهونهم عذابا. The person who will be given the lowest form of punishment and torment in the hellfire, his punishment being described is that he will be made to wear shoes of fire, due to which his whole body will burn inside and his brain inside his skull will boil like a kettle. And his torment, his suffering will be such that he will think that I am being afflicted the most, when in fact his will be the lowest form of punishment. That's for a person who goes without Iman and Islam. On the other hand, a person who has nothing of this world, he doesn't even have a roof over his head, doesn't have a standing in society, doesn't have any wealth. The day he dies, very few people will notice. Even fewer people will attend his funeral. People will talk bad about him. He didn't have any properties, he didn't acquire anything, he was illiterate. But he believed in Allah. He believed in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He obeyed Allah, he followed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The whole world can say he isn't successful, but he is successful. And so successful, you and I can't even begin to imagine. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam narrated a story. Brothers, stay with us, inshallah. Brothers at the back, stay with us, inshallah. Of the past nations. He said that there was a woman sitting by the roadside. She was suckling her child, breastfeeding her child. And a person went past. And he was on a nice pedigree horse. And his clothes were really expensive. And you could tell that he's wealthy, affluent, he's got honor. So when she saw him, the mother, she said, Allahumma ja'al ibni mithlahu. Oh Allah, make my son just like him. Like we do, we see somebody with dunya, think, Ya Allah. So she looked at the apparent and she said, Ya Allah, make my son like him. Allah is all powerful, almighty, Allah can do everything. Allah gave the ability to the child to speak. The child stopped suckling, turned around and looked at the man, and the child spoke by the qudrat of Allah. Allahumma la taj'alni mithlahu. Allah, don't make me like him. The mother is really surprised. One, the child is talking. The second is that I've given him a dua and he is rejecting it. After some time, a black, emaciated, thin, feeble slave girl ran past. Her clothes were torn, she was bleeding, she was crying, and a mob was chasing her, throwing stones at her. Zanaiti sarakti, zanaiti sarakti. You committed fornication, you stole, and this is why the people are chasing her. So this woman, when she sees this, the mother, she says, Allahumma la taj'al ibni mithlaha. Oh Allah, don't make my son like him. So the son stops feeding, turns around, looks at her, Allahumma ja'alni mithlaha. Oh Allah, make me just like her. So the mother, she's surprised, she said, what are you saying? I give you a dua and you're rejecting it. So he said that first person, the child spoke again and said that first person, you're looking at his affluence and his opulence and his wealth and his standing in society, but the internal affairs is that he has rebelled against Allah. He's an enemy of Allah. Allah hates him. I don't want to be like him. And that woman, you're just looking at her apparent state. People are accusing her falsely of stealing and fornicating. She has not stolen anything. She has not fornicated. People are looking down upon her and accusing her. But she is the waliya of Allah. She is a friend of Allah. That's what I want to be. So respected brothers and friends, Allah Ta'ala has given us this Iman and Islam. And because of this Iman and Islam, we have the key to success. We can succeed in this world and the hereafter. But our mission in life is to hold on to this Iman. And in this day and age, we can understand that there are many thieves around trying to snatch this Iman away. And the biggest thief of Iman is Shaitan. Because Shaitan knows he's going down, but he said, I'm not going to go down. He promised in front of Allah, لَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. I'm not going to go down alone, I'm going to take all of mankind down with me. Adam, due to Adam alayhi salam, he blamed Adam alayhi salam. The fault was his own. But he said, I got chucked out of heaven because of Adam. I'm his enemy, I'm the enemy of his children, I'm going to take them all down. So Shaitan is after our Iman. And our quest in life, our mission in life is to hold on to that Iman. One riwayat says, and this gives us an idea of why the Ahlullah, people of Allah, Sahaba Kiram cried so much and were so fearful. Not like us, just enjoying life, ha, he, parties, weddings, gourmet burgers, milkshakes, just going through life. I'm a born Muslim, I'm going to die a Muslim. The Sahaba Kiram were not like that. Ahlullah were not like that. They were fearful always because they knew that Shaitan, he is making utmost effort, all out effort to try to grab our iman and steal our iman. In one riwayat it says that when a person is dying, Allah Ta'ala protect us all. When the sakarat of the death, the throes of death start, Hazrat Ali radiallahu says that the throes of death are worse than being stabbed by 1,000 swords all at once. One scholar, he says, it's like being boiled alive in a cauldron. One says it's like having your body hacked and body sliced with scissors, piece by piece. Those are the throes of death, which is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to pray after every salat, Allahumma a'inni ala ghamaratil maut wa sakaratil maut. Allah, help me upon the throes of death. Allah Ta'ala protect us all and help us all. So you and I know, when you're playing football and you fall knee first on the tarmac, right? And you're in immense pain. Your friends might be laughing, but when you're in that pain, what's the first thing that comes out of our mouth? I can't desecrate a masjid by repeating it here. That's what's inside us. So at the time of death, what is going to come out is what I need to be asking myself. One Buzrug, he was Ahlullah, doing a lot of zikr, remembering Allah. And because he was always remembering Allah, always saying, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. So he had a parrot. So the parrot, hearing it, learnt it. So when somebody would walk in, the parrot would say, Assalamu alaikum, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. All day long, the Buzrug is doing La ilaha illallah, and the parrot is praying La ilaha illallah. One day, the parrot had been let out of his cage. It was perched on the sofa, and stealthily a cat came into the room, and the parrot didn't see it until it was too late, and the cat pounced and attacked it and killed it. Up to that point, the parrot was saying La ilaha illallah. When it saw the cat at the last moment, it started squawking and making other noises until it was killed. The Maulana, when he saw this, he fell unconscious. People came round, sprinkled water on his face. He came round, he's crying so much. And they try and console him, but he's just uncontrollable crying. So they said to him that, Maulana, it's only a parrot, we'll get you another one, we'll teach it the kalima. He said, that's not the reason why I'm crying. So why are you crying then? He said, the reason why I'm crying is because this parrot had learnt the kalima and was reciting it all its life. But when death came, when danger came, at that time it forgot the kalima and it started squawking. I also fear. I realize that the parrot only had the kalima in its tongue, not in its heart. I also fear that I have also been reciting the kalima all my life. When Malakul Maut comes, if it comes to me in hideous features, as Ibrahim alayhi salam asked Malakul Maut, that I hear that you come to the sinners in a terrifying form, show me. Oh Khalilullah, you will not be able to bear it. No, I want to see. Okay, turn the other way. He turns the other way. He said, now look. So Malakul Maut had assumed those hideous features, terrifying, in order to torment the dyer, because he's the enemy of Allah. So when Ibrahim alayhi salam saw that, even though prophets have the strength of 40 human beings, and according to some ulama kiram, 200 human beings, despite that physical strength, when he saw it, he saw the terrifying scene in front of him, he swooned and he fell unconscious. When he came around, Malakul Maut had gone back to his normal form. Ibrahim alayhi salam said, if a sinner is not to be given any other punishment at the time of death except to see your face, that would be enough as a torment and a punishment. So now if we put everything into perspective, time of death, extreme pain, and then this terrible spectacle comes in front of a person. So the Buzurg, he said that the parrot, I realized that he only had the kalima on his tongue, and when danger came, it forgot the kalima. In the same way, I am also fearful that I've been reciting the kalima. Perhaps it hasn't penetrated into my heart and it's only on my tongue. What will happen to me at the time of death? People of Allah were always fearful of that 11th hour, which is what we should be. Sahaba Kiram were always living their lives as if they're gonna die any moment. Always fearful. One Buzurg, he went into a shop to buy something. So he had some money, so he paid. So in those days they had those gold and silver coins. So people used to make counterfeit coins. In that time as well, there were chores and dakus and criminals. So the shopkeeper, he took the coin off the Maulana and then he bit it, and it turned out to be a fake. He said, Maulana, sorry, this is a fake. Maulana fell unconscious. So when he came around, he started crying. The shopkeeper goes, Maulvi Sahib, sorry, aaj maaf, just take it, I'm not going to charge you. He said, that's not what I'm crying. So why are you crying? He said, I had saved up this money thinking that it will help me at the time of need. Today was my time of need. I came with the money and the money failed me. Turned out to be counterfeit. He said, I am also fearful. Likewise, I remembered when you said it's counterfeit and you can't accept it, I thought of the day of judgment. That all my life I've been performing good amal, good actions, so that I can present them in front of Allah. Perhaps may it not be that on the day of judgment Allah says to me that I can't accept it's counterfeit. It's got no ikhlas, no sincerity. You did it for someone else and Allah rejects it. At that time, what's going to happen to me? So the people of Allah were always conscious of that day and of that moment and of the resurrection. You and I need to ask ourselves that, am I not going to die? Am I not going to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Am I not going to pass the bridge of Sirat? Am I not going to have to give an account of my life? What preparation have I made for that day? These are serious questions that we need to ask ourselves. I need to ask myself. We all need to ask ourselves. What have I actually done to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment? And this is why we have these gatherings. Alhamdulillah, we've had about 22 gatherings in Lancashire, and Alhamdulillah in almost all the masjids. And then at the end of the gathering, the intentions are taken and brothers are requested to go out in the path of Allah. Alhamdulillah, there's one Jamaat already here. There's one Jamaat in our masjid as well. And Jamaats will keep on going, Alhamdulillah, in the Christmas period. So we need to think to ourselves that I also need to go out in the path of Allah. Otherwise, what's going to happen to me? Really, when I die, when I have to face the angel at the time of death, the angel of death comes down and it touches a person's jugular vein. At that time, the eyes are open. People say, Maulvi Sahib, my granddad was dying. We were all standing in front of him. I was saying, oh, Papa Jo. I'm presenting his grandkids and my kids in front of him. But it's like he's seeing through us. I couldn't understand it. So what's happened? His sakarat has started. The throes of death have started. The angel, when they touch us here, what will happen? These eyes will be open, but they'll be blind. And we won't be able to see anything around us. But Allah Ta'ala will give us X-ray vision, due to which we'll be able to see the unseen. Just as right now, more than humans that are gathered here, the brothers that are gathered here, more than that, there are angels. 100 times more, 1,000 times more, 1,000,000 times more, piling on top of each other, reaching the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This whole place is filled with angels because it's a house of Allah. But we can't see it. But at the time of death, when the Malakul Maut, when he touches the vein, what happens? These eyes, they develop X-ray vision. Now the person can't see the people around him. Now he can't see the ceiling. Now he's seeing the angels coming down. And that's going to happen to all of us. So many people, they die, their eyes have to be closed. They die with their jaw open and the eyes open. Why? They weren't expecting any of that. What is this? It's a shock to them. So the Sahaba Kiram made an effort on their Iman until the unseen became seen for them. So Hazrat Ali radiallahu anh says, لَوْ كُشِفَ الْغِطَى مَزْدَدَّا إِيمَانًا. If Jannat and Jahannam and the angels and the hereafter were to be brought in front of us, our Iman would neither increase or decrease. If Jannat was to be brought in front of me right now, my Iman would just go next level, shoot up off the scale. The Sahaba Kiram, imagine how much effort they had made. They said it's as if we've seen it with our own eyes already. So much they spoke about it, so much they heard about it. Because there's 4 channels to our spiritual heart. Whatever we talk about, whatever we hear about, whatever we think about, and whatever we look at, that is what goes into the heart. Today we have, all of us, since childhood, we've used these 4 faculties and we're using them. But we're using them for the wrong things, due to which the wrong things have penetrated into our hearts. The elders give a very simple but a beautiful example. And it's applicable to all of us. And it's a very poignant example. So there was a kid, his dad drove a Mercedes. So he's going around saying, when I grow up, I'm going to drive a Mercedes Benz. So his dad said to him, nah, Mercedes, all right, but you know, the best car is a Lamborghini. Yeah, I went for Umrah and I made dua, Allah give me a Lamborghini. He said, Dad, what's a Lambo? So he told him. So he goes, right, okay, I want a Lamborghini as well. So now he's on the schoolyard. His friend says to him that, you know, when I grow up, I'm going to get Ferrari. He goes, Ferrari, Lamborghini. He goes, no, Ferrari, Lambo. They get into a fight. He gets a black eye because of the Lamborghini. He doesn't even have a Lamborghini. But now he's talking Lamborghini, Lambo. It's like he's doing zikr, Lambo. Always talking about it. And when he goes home, whenever he's got free time, he's on the internet, between school, between madrasa, and he's watching the videos. When he watches the videos, through his eyes and his ears, the Lambo is going into his heart. When he's talking about it, the Lambo is going into his heart. And in class when he's daydreaming of himself driving up Blackburn Road with 2 fingers on the wheel, windows rolled down, Lamborghini. He can't even drive, can't even walk properly. But he's like, dreamland. And because he's talking about it, hearing about it, thinking about it all day long, what happens when his mom tucks him in for the night? He's thinking Lamborghini, he falls asleep and he dreams Lamborghini. So now he's got a goal. I've got to get myself a Lamborghini. So he works really hard in school and in college and university, gets a first class degree, lands himself a good job, climbs up the corporate ladder, the career ladder, lands himself a fat salary. Eventually he manages to buy a Lamborghini, a white Lamborghini. So he parks it outside his house. Somebody's walking past and sees on Blackburn Road a Lamborghini. Allah, why has he got a Lamborghini? I've only got a Corolla. So he feels jealous. So he gets a sharp object and he scratches the Lamborghini from end to end, deep scratch. When my man comes and he sees a deep, long scratch on the Lamborghini, he falls to his knees and he cries like a baby. Why? Because the person who scratched the car didn't scratch the car. He scratched his heart. Why? Because long before the Lamborghini was ever parked outside his house, it was already parked inside his heart. Because he talked about it, heard about it, thought about it so much, it was already in his heart. We all have Lambos in our heart. You might be like me, not into cars. You might think, I've not got no car. No. Everyone's Lamborghini is different. Somebody's Lamborghini is money. Cash is king. Baisu. Masab. Alhamdulillah. Allah's given me so much. Dahavinga to India mein hai. You know, I've got loads of money in my bank account, loads of money in my under the mattress account. Maulai Sahib is raining money. He's got Kashi's king is in his heart. For somebody it's his wife or his fiance, somebody is his shop. Everybody's got a different Lamborghini parked inside their hearts. Sahaba Kiram had Allah, Rasulullah, Deen of Allah in their hearts. Due to which, when any deficiency came on the Deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Khalid bin Sa'id radiallahu ta'ala, Allahu Akbar. We read the lives of Sahaba Kiram, it just leaves us astonished. Who were these people? They were on the same earth as us. They had blood inside their bodies. They were humans like us. But they made the special effort. And so they had Allah in their hearts. Khalid bin Sa'id radiallahu ta'ala accepts Islam in the early days. One of the very first to accept Islam. His father beats him up, breaks a whip on his head, chucks him out of the house. Say, if you're going to remain Muslim, I'm not going to feed you. I'm not going to give you any shelter. He's a new Muslim. But Allah has come into his heart. He says, if you don't feed me, my Allah will feed me. You don't give me shelter, my Allah will give me shelter. I don't need you. Then his father tells Sa'id ibn As, his father tells his sons that you dare support him, I'll beat you up as well. So now Khalid bin Sa'id is hiding in the valleys of Makkah from his family. Eventually he learns that some Muslims are migrating to Abyssinia. So he joins them. Lives a life of poverty. He goes to Abyssinia. In Abyssinia, when he gets there, his father, who was very rich and he was a chief and he had a lot of money, he fell ill. So the father, he swore a qasam. He made a pledge. He said, when I recover from this illness, when I get better, I'm going to make so much effort, spend so much wealth, I'm going to make sure that the God of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is never ever worshipped in these valleys of Makkah. Meaning, I'm going to put a stop to Islam. Now, because he was such a powerful and influential person, when the Muslims heard this, they were filled with terror. We don't know what this Khannas shaitan's going to do. Word reached Khalid bin Sa'id as well. He had Allah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, deen in his heart. What did he say? He stood up and he made dua. Our new Muslim friends, our reverts, when we speak to them, they're very happy that they've got Islam. But one of the very first things they'll say to us, make dua for my mom, make dua for my dad, make dua for my brothers and sisters. Their only concern is to save them from the fire of hell as well. And rightly so. Khalid bin Sa'id also had that desire for his family members. But when he saw that his father is an impediment and an obstacle in the propagation of deen, he made dua, Allahumma la tarfa'hu. Oh Allah, don't make him rise up from his bed. Take him. He sacrificed his own father and the Islam of his own father for Islam. And Allah Ta'ala accepted his dua. His father died. This is who the Sahaba Kiram were. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's son says that in the battle of Badr, when the son was fighting on the side of the non-Muslims, when he was a non-Muslim, he said, Father, afterwards he said to him, that you came in my crosshairs so many times. You came in front of me. But then when I recognized, oh, it's my dad, I spared you. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was a man of Iman. Allah and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his heart. He said, oh my son, I didn't see you on that day. But if I would have seen you just once, I would have not given it a second thought. I would have finished you off. Because on that day, you were not my son. You had come as the enemy of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was imperative that I remove you. This is who the Sahaba Kiram were. They had parked Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in their hearts. What have we parked in our hearts? We all know. And this is why madrasa we go to, alhamdulillah, madrasa we got to teach in, we got to go to, we got to acquire knowledge, very important. We've got to seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. This is our obligation. But along with that, the effort that we're not making is the effort of Iman. Sahaba Kiram from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they gain knowledge. But the actual curriculum of the madrasa of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they say, what's your syllabus? Which kitabs do you teach? Have you got colorful ones? Which teachers have you got? What reward system have you got? All this is necessary. What was the pedagogy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The teaching methodology of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of the Sahabas says that كنا مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ونحن فتيان حذاورة فتعلمنا الإيمان قبل أن نتعلم القرآن ثم تعلمنا القرآن فازددنا به إيمانا. We were young lads, we were with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. First of all, we learnt Iman. Then we learned the Quran. Then when we recited the Quran increased our Iman. The first effort of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was on the hearts of the people. When he came down from the mountain of Hira with prophethood, 360 idols in Kaabatullah. How could it broke his heart, he couldn't tolerate it. But he didn't go and break them. Instead, he did a greater thing, an amazing thing. He went and broke the idols of the hearts of the people. And when the idols were removed, we saw what Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu said, we saw what Khalid bin Sa'id radiallahu anhu, and so many other Sahaba Kiram, Allah was in their heart. This is the effort, respected brothers and elders, that we are not making and we have to make. So that our Iman increases, we recognize Allah, we obey Allah, we devote our lives to Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we become good Muslims. And then we become beacons of hidayat for other people. Then Islam will spread. When we will talk about Allah, hear about Allah, this is what is not happening. Everywhere we go, we're always talking about dunya, dunya. You go to somebody's funeral, a guy died in his prime, and you think, Allah, how am I going to go there? I bet they're all devastated, and they are devastated. So you get somebody ready, you say, Allah, it's going to be really uncomfortable, it's going to be really difficult, I don't know what to say, come with me. So you go to the guy's house, he's left 5 children behind, died in his prime. You think it's going to be a really somber mood in the house. You go like 2-3 days after he's passed away, you sit down, and people are sitting there chatting. Allah, what phone have you got? Business investor nahi baat karni hai, Bitcoin nahi baat karni bhai. Give me some ideas, man. They're all talking about dunya. This is how much ghaflat has prevailed over us. That even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, visit the Qabristan because it will remind you of your ultimate abode, remind you of the Akhirat. But today, our Iman in our hearts and our fikr for the Akhirat has drifted so much, we go to the Qabristan People are standing aside, ha ha, he he. Once I went to a janazah, prayed the namaz in the masjid, and then quickly legged it out, jumped into the car, thought to avoid the traffic, I'll get to the qabristan. I got there early, and the grave diggers, they were standing over the grave. As I approached, I heard laughing. I thought, where's the laughing coming from? They were telling jokes. One guy was smoking on the qabr. I thought, Allahu Akbar, this is a ghaflat. It's not just them, we're all like that. Our ghaflat is so much heedlessness. We're living our lives. Ji aisa lagaya jeene mein, marne ko Musalman bhul gaya. We're so engrossed in our waffles and our desserts and our gourmet burgers and our milkshakes and our outings and our holidays and extension and decoration and Lamborghinis and this and that. It's as if we're never going to die. But the reality is we are going to die. And so this is why this effort needs to be made. Talking about Allah, hearing about Allah. I heard from one elder an amazing statement. He said, Allah Ta'ala, وَتُعِزُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُذِلُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ. He gives honor and He disgraces and abases. Everything is in the hands of Allah. Your Lamborghini can't give you respect. Your 8-bedroom house can't give you respect. Your followers can't give you respect. Respect comes from Allah. Allah Ta'ala gives to whomever He wants, and Allah Ta'ala snatches away from whoever He wants. تُؤْتِي الْمُلْكَ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتَنْزِعُ الْمُلْكَ مِمَّنْ تَشَاءُ. He grants empire, dominion, kingdom to whomever He wishes, and He takes away from whomever He wishes. So the elder, he said an amazing thing. He goes, Allah Ta'ala agar izzat dene pe aaye, to baap se juda karwa ke, kapre utarwa ke, kuएं में दलवा के, गुलाम की तरह बाजार में फरोख्त करवा के, किसी का गुलाम बना के, जिना की तोहमत लगवा के, जेल खाने में पहुंचा के, हुकूमत की कुर्सी पे पहुंचा के अल्लाह ताला इज्जत दे सकता है. If Allah Ta'ala wants to give somebody honor, strip a person, separate him from his dud, strip him of his clothes, thrown into a well, sold in the market like a slave, made a slave of somebody, false accusation of rape against him, thrown into a prison for 9 years, taken out of that, given a ministerial position, and Allah Ta'ala honored him. Yusuf alayhi salam. अगर अल्लाह ताला हलाक करने पे आए तो लाओ लश्कर चारों तरफ है, तख्त व ताज है, चमकती तलवारें है, खोद और तलवारें हैं, और अल्लाह ताला लंगड़े मच्छर के जरिए से हलाक कर सकता है. If Allah Ta'ala wants to destroy a person, then despite the armies, Namrud ruled the whole world. He was one of the kings who ruled the whole world. Imagine his empire. Roman, Persian empire, nothing compared to Namrud. He challenged Ibrahim alayhi salam. When Ibrahim alayhi salam invited him, he said, where's your Allah? Tell your Allah, bring it on, come on. So he said, okay. He went back to Allah. Allah Ta'ala said, okay, tell him, such and such a time, come in such and such a place. So he went with his army of hundreds of thousands, with shining armor and glistening swords, and they're all standing there. And Ibrahim alayhi salam is one man standing on the other side, Allahu Akbar. But he's not alone, he's got Allah with him. So what happens? Namrud is taking the mick. Come on, where's this army coming from? Where is it? Come on. I think your God's late. I think he forgot the appointment. He's taking the mick. He said, don't worry, it's coming, it's coming. It was a bright day, a hot day in Iraq. Sunny day. All of a sudden now, when Namrud is getting impatient, all of a sudden Allah Ta'ala released his store of mosquitoes. وَمَا يَعْلَمُ جُنُودَ رَبِّكَ إِلَّا هُ. Allah has stores and armies of everything. Qawm Aad were a people whose newborn baby was 6 foot tall. Imagine how big their maternity was must have been. They were so huge, mighty giants, that they used to pull trees out of the ground like we pull blades of grass. If they wanted to move a mountain, one guy went that side, one guy went this side, like we move a table, they move mountains. So mighty, Allah Ta'ala had given them power, that they thought nobody's more powerful than us. Man ashaddu minna quwwa, they said. They declared war on everyone, defeated everyone, and then they thought they could defeat Allah. They did not accept the da'wat of the Prophet, Allah Ta'ala, and they invited the punishment. Tell your Allah, come on, hurry up, we're getting tired of waiting. Allah Ta'ala said, okay. He commanded the angels, open my stores of wind. Allah Ta'ala has stores of everything. So the angels went and they were going to open the doors. Then they thought, they discussed, they said, how much should we open it? So they couldn't agree. They said, let's go and ask Allah. He's given the command. So they went back to him and they asked him, how much should we open? We didn't ask you that. So Allah Ta'ala asked them that, how much were you going to open? So they said, we decided amongst ourselves, the Qawm Aad are big people, heavy people. So we were going to open your stores equal to the nostril of a bull. About 2-pound coin size. Allah Ta'ala said, if you had opened my stores that much, not only Qawm Aad, not only all the other tribes, not only all of humanity, not only earth, but you would have destroyed the whole of the universe. Allahu Akbar. If Allah's wind is that powerful, how powerful is Allah? Ya Allah, how much should we open it then? Open it equal to the eye of a needle. They opened it that much and the winds came. Nowadays, some places you hear 170 miles per hour wind. Allah Ta'ala protect us all. Demolish buildings. Imagine how ferocious that wind must have been, that Qawm Aad, who was so big, so heavy, picked them up, took them into the skies and bashed them together and their brains spilled out. Allah Ta'ala destroyed all of them. كَأَنَّهُمْ أَعْجَازُ نَخْلٍ خَاوِيَةٍ. They were lying there the next day like fallen trees. Allah Ta'ala is all powerful. So Allah Ta'ala, for Namrud, because his rebelliousness was too much, he challenged Allah. Allah Ta'ala commanded the angels, I don't need to send angels down with swords. I don't need to make fireballs rain from the heavens. I don't need a tsunami. For him, I'll show my qudrat. For all of mankind, for the people sitting in the Masjid Salaam on a Saturday evening, and to come to the day of judgment, Allah Ta'ala showed his qudrat. He sent one of the smallest of insects, mosquitoes. And the angels were commanded to open up my stores. They opened up the stores, and Ibn Kathir has written that it was a bright day and they came in their multitude so much that it was like an eclipse of the sun. It became nighttime. Completely enveloped the sun. It's like complete darkness fell upon them. And they came and then they bit the soldiers until killed them all. And then Allah Ta'ala had selected one lame mosquito. The lame mosquito said to Allah that I'm part of this army, but what am I going to do? I'm lame. So I got a special duty for you. You have to go into Namrud's nostril, go up to his brain, and then chill out there and get comfy there. So he went according to the command, and Namrud ran from there when he saw his army falling. One man, Ibrahim alayhi salam, standing on one side, and the whole army is falling because the qudrat of Allah is there with Ibrahim alayhi salam. Namrud legged it, got into his palace, shut all the doors and everything. One mosquito came, buzzed round his head, he tried to kill it, and he went into his nostril. Went up there, and according to the command of Allah, it started feasting on his brain. And his headache started, migraine started, and it went on. According to some tafasir, Maulana will tell you, 40 years he suffered like this. Allah Ta'ala humiliated him. Allah Ta'ala made him suffer. Allah Ta'ala made him bleed. And then, the headache was so bad that he used to tell his soldiers, his wrestlers, to come and clobber him on the head with their slippers. Before, the command used to be that I am your God. When you come to me, take off your shoes, bow down in front of me. Now he's changed the command, forget all that. Take off your shoes and clobber me on the head. And then one day, he just can't take the headache. He calls his strongest wrestler, brothers with the phone, put the phones away please, Jazakallah. And he says, get the heaviest slippers. You know, like in Lancashire, we used to have clogs. The big wooden ones. So get one of those. And he said, hit me. And he hits him proper hard. And he goes, oh, is that all you got? Come on, hit me harder. So he hits him so hard, full force. Namrud's head splits open. And he dies. And the mosquito comes buzzing out and flies away. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I've only been speaking about the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a short time. But brothers are smiling. Brothers are feeling an increase in their iman. Some brothers crying. So now ask yourself, if in a short talk from a person like me, if we're listening to this talk, if we feel our iman has increased and we feel rejuvenated and we think, I'm going to pray namaz from now on, I'm going to do this and that. Imagine how much our iman will increase if we went in the path of Allah, if we went in Jamaat for 3 days, stayed in the environment, after Fajr, before Zohar, after Zohar, after Asr, after Maghrib, all day long we heard these talks. We left our phone at home and we connected with Allah. And we heard the talks of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Qabr Akhirat. Imagine how much our iman would increase in 3 days. Imagine how much in 5 days. Imagine how much in 10 days. Hint, hint. 10 days, intentions are coming, huh? Because you're giving me your attention, mashallah, I think that intentions are going to come. Myself and Brother Zubair, we're going on Friday for 10 days. So you don't think that, okay, this guy just came for the pizzas and then he's going. I'm going as well in Jamaat because I need to make the effort. We all need to make the effort. Imagine how much our iman will increase in 10 days. How much in 40 days? Imagine how much in 4 months. We will become supercharged. Which is why we see people coming back from the path of Allah who've not taken their phones, spend their time well, is a changed person. Why? Because the iman is there inside. The knowledge was there in the head, but the iman, the knowledge was not encouraging him to practice. Somebody said the reason for the fall and decline of the ummah and the deplorable state of the ummah is because of a lack of knowledge. So the Maulana replied that knowledge is very important. I also teach in a madrasa. Obviously we encourage knowledge, we promote knowledge, but that is not the reason for the present state of the ummah. Then he gave an example. He said, how many Muslims in the world know that we're supposed to pray 5 times a day? 100% everyone knows. Even our non-Muslim colleagues know that we're supposed to pray 5 times a day. 100% every single Muslim knows that. So every single Muslim has that knowledge. How many actually pray namaz? Barely 5%. Why? Because the knowledge is there, but the motivating, driving force is not there because the iman is too weak. The iman is on the Lamborghini, on the burgers, on the holidays, on the dunya. One brother, he went out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Youngster, spent 40 days. So he was spending his time well. He left his phone at home. I keep dropping hints. So, why do our elders say leave your phone at home? Because the phone connects us to the creation. And we are going out in the path of Allah to connect to the Creator. And we have thus so far in our lives, we've not connected with the Creator. One brother from our masjid, Allah Ta'ala grant him Jannat, for 40 years he was praying namaz. Pakka namazi, really nice chap. But he'd never been in Jamaat. And he was such a nice guy. Whenever Amir Sahib and the brothers used to come, he'd invite them in, he'd listen to them, he'd bow his head in embarrassment and he'd say, Inshallah. Then there came a point in his life, he said, listen, I just feel too embarrassed to face you now. I'm ready. So in Christmas, our holidays, 10-day Jamaat went. He joined us. I was so surprised, he came along. First day we went to Markaz. That first night he started crying. He said, I thought Tablighi Jamaat is just a few people in my masjid doing the effort. This is like half the world's here. So I never realized so many people. Then we went out in Tashkil. So I said to him, Suleiman bhai, you've come very late, but we're going to have to fast track you. Unfortunately, I'm your Amir, so I'm going to put a lot of burden on you. So the first day out, I gave him a talk between Gasht and Darmiyani talk. He said, what am I going to talk about? I said, talk about your life. And he'll come to you. So then he started saying some beautiful things. One of the things he said, you know what? I've been praying namaz for 40 years. But he said, I used to pray my namaz thus far like I drive my car. How do we drive our cars? Learner driver is a proper doda. Mirror, side mirror, check, indicator. Yeah? Because he's a learner or he's newly passed, so he does everything by the book. And a seasoned driver, he changes a gear stick with one finger, controls the steering wheel with 2 fingers, talking on the phone, which is illegal by the way. The khala, she's putting on her makeup and she's driving. She can't drive anyway, but, she's driving. Right? So, no disrespect to the sisters. So, how do seasoned drivers drive? He goes, I used to pray my namaz like I drive my car. If you and I set off from here to Derby Street, when we got back, if somebody asked you that, when did you slip into second gear? When did you slip into third gear? When did you check your mirror? Never. You don't know, because it's all done inadvertently, it's done subconsciously, because it's become a habit. You just do it. New driver, you ask him, when did you slip into second gear? So he'll tell you the precise point. And who was walking past, he'll tell you. And if he got the clutch wrong and all that, he'll tell you. There was a scraping noise. Right? Why? Because he's a newbie. But then when you become a seasoned driver, it's all like automatic, autopilot. So he said, I've been praying my namaz for 40 years like that. Autopilot. Allahu Akbar. And it just comes out. Don't have to concentrate. It's especially good when you're behind the imam. Sit in second at-tahiyyat. Prayed at-tahiyyat, Durood Sharif, Allahumma inni. Thinking, why is Maulana Arshad taking so long today? And then Maulana Arshad Sahib says, Allahu Akbar. I said, oops. That was only the second rakat. I clocked it all. Go up to Allahumma inni. Waiting for salam. Right? That's what happens in autopilot. He said, I was praying my namaz like that. Now that I've come in Jamaat, I realize that namaz is something you're actually supposed to make effort on. Now I realize what all the fuss is about. Now I realize why Uthman radiallahu anhu used to stand in one rakat and finish the whole Quran. Every night. Now I realize, we read the story, there was one Buzurg, O.S. Qarni rahmatullah, the great Tabi, he would say, tonight is a night of Qiyam. And he would spend the whole night in Qiyam. Tonight is a night of Ruku. He'd start his namaz, he'd go into Ruku, he'd spend the whole night in Ruku. Then we read the story that there was one person of Allah who had found the relish, enjoyment, maja, kasam, gajamnu. The gajamnu that we found in gourmet burger, Masa kasam, you got to try this. Masa, you will not regret it. Masa, kasam, gajamnu. Masa, heaven on earth. What? Heaven, what are you saying, brother? Musalman thaine tu evi auto kares? Masa, heaven on a plate. Heaven on a plate? Eat after something. Jannat evi chhe. Agi devana tu. Right? And you might be biting it, and Allah might teach you a lesson. You might bite into your tongue. Pachi kan ge tari maja. Heaven on a plate. But non-Muslims say stuff like that. Mahasabi is divine. Gosh, divine. Divine is namaz, bhai. If we get that relish in namaz, because they had made an effort. One scholar, he says, for 20 years, I persevered with my namaz. Stuck to it. Tried to build my concentration. When we go in Jamaat, we hear these virtues, and I get excited. I say, Qasam thi, I'm going to pray proper namaz. So I try it one day. But it's difficult. That autopilot namaz behind the imam is alright. You can think about everything and just Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. But when you have to concentrate, it's hard work. But he said, I persevered. 20 years I made effort on my namaz. There's one Buzurg alive in the world now. When he prays his Zohar Sunnats, they say that he prays his Zohar Sunnats in 45 minutes. 4 rakats. Hafiz Patel Sahib Rahmatullah used to say that he saw in his madrasa some talaba, nobody had told them. And they didn't know that anyone's watching. But Hafiz Sahib said, I saw them and I timed them. He said, they prayed their Zohar Sunnats in 8 minutes. He goes, Mujhe rashk aaya unki namaz pe. He said, I envied their namaz. Operator will come, well, not operator, but me, I come in, 3 minutes, shala, shala, na, shala, shala, na, chali, Allahu Akbar. 4 minutes, 4 rakats in 3 minutes, up and down, kiss the ground, turn around, back to town. So the Maulana, he said, I made effort on my namaz. In Tabligh, when we go out, we learn that. Allah Qasam, namaz is something, you're not just supposed to go Allahu Akbar, you're supposed to make effort on it. That's what we learn in Tabligh. And we learn that we're supposed to make effort on Iman. I thought it's just Iman-i Mujmal, Iman-i Mufassal. You just learn it. Amantu billahi wa malaikati wa kutubi thayyu. No, you're supposed to make an effort on Iman. Just as you made effort on your dunya, on your education, on your degree, on your house, on your Lamborghini. You're supposed to make effort on this. So the Maulana says, I made 20 years, I persevered. After that, Allah gave me the relish and the maja. The maza of namaz. He said, I've got to a level now, when I say Allahu Akbar, and I start my namaz, start my salat, he said, I don't want it to end. One Maulana Sahib said, our namaz is such, we take more time choosing our mango than we do in praying our 4 rakats namaz. Go to Barakat store, you'll see. When mango season starts, all the khalas, the bawana uthal patal kari nakhe. The guy has to say, bhai, don't swap. Don't open all the boxes. Even the chachas are with their walking sticks. We spend more time choosing a mango, a box of mangoes, which we're going to eat and which is going to come out. We spend more time on that than we do praying our namaz. And for us, we spend more time on our device, lots more time on our devices than we spend on our namaz, our Quran and everything. This is why we need to reflect, brothers. So the brother, he said, I used to pray my namaz like I drive my car. He said, now I realize what all the fuss is about. We read that story, one buzurg who had found the maja and the relish in namaz, he went into sizdah. And he did such a long sizdah that he felt a wetness. So he quickly finished his namaz and then he lit the lantern and he found that his 2 teeth had fallen out. Buck teeth had fallen out. Fazail al-Sadqat, there was a pool of blood and he didn't even realize. Imagine how long his sizdah must have been. These are humans like you and I. But they made the correct effort. This is why it's imperative for me and you, for all of us to go out in the path of Allah. And it's not something that can't be achieved. Allah Ta'ala hasn't closed the door, sail over. It's now as well, in this day and age, there are so many youngsters. One guy, one roadman as they say, from the streets he came, he said, Mausab Kasa, I've done everything. You name the haram, I've done it. Drugs, alcohol, but dudes. But he said, Mausab, the relish, the enjoyment I get in sizdah, in crying in front of Allah, Mausab tops it all, beats it all. But that a person has to seek. Allah Ta'ala is not going to give it just like that. Anulzimukumuha wa antum laha karihun. Person has to persevere. Person has to strive. So Namrud, the mosquito came, finished him off. Allah showed his qudrat. And when we will then in this way talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, talk about qabr, akhirat, then the reality will come. Then we'll be scared. And everything will remind us of the qabr, of the akhirat. There was one young boy who was making this kind of effort. So he went out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he went out in gasht. When we go in gasht, we're encouraging other people come to the masjid. So he had a youngster with him. So on the street corner he met 4 youngsters. So he started talking to them like I'm talking, which is Maulvi talk, the boring talk. So it's really difficult to talk to youngsters, especially when they're in a crowd. So they're not listening. They're dismissive, they're nudging each other, one's taking out his phone and stuff. So this youngster, he thought to himself that, I need to stop, because our elders, they say, don't throw your pearls in front of those people who aren't attentive and interested. So he thought, I'm going to have to move on. These guys aren't listening. They're disrespecting the word of Allah and His Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But then he thought to himself that, this is an opportunity. I've got to talk to these guys. Perhaps I should try another way. So he turned his heart, in his heart he made dua to Allah. He turned his heart towards Allah. He said, Allah, inspire me. Let me talk to them. Let me catch their attention. So because he made dua and he had fikr, he had the right worry and concern, Allah Ta'ala put it into his heart. He stopped this Maulvi talk and he looked at them. And just looking at them, he could tell that they were gym boys. Gym boys, people who frequent the gym. How could he tell that they are gym boys? Because some gym boys, not all, and if there's anyone here, no disrespect to you guys, I don't want to upset you guys, innit? Masal wale. So he could tell that they're gym boys. How could he tell they're gym boys? Because gym boys, some of them, when they start going to the gym and their muscles start protruding, then they stop wearing their t-shirt and they start wearing their younger brother's t-shirt, 2 sizes too small. So it makes the muscles protrude and it's bulky and looking like He-Man. So looking at them, you could tell, chest out and everything, tight pants. You could tell the gym boys. So he stopped the Maulvi talk, the boring talk, boring in inverted commas, and he turns to the first guy and goes, bro, how much do you bench? And how much weight do you lift? He said in their slang, how much do you bench? So now he got, okay. Talk to a person about their interests, about their hobbies, their wife and kids, a person will talk forever. So he goes, he's interested in that. So he goes, I do 80 kgs. I do 4 sets or whatever. So this guy, the youngster himself, he was a thin, scrawny kid. So he's supposed to be impressed. But he like sniffled. Okay. looked unimpressed. That guy is thinking, what, Tari Mano? Now he's got his attention. Turns to the second guy, he goes, bro, how much do you bench? So obviously he's not going to say anything less than the first guy. So he goes, I do 100. Okay. Well, what about you, bro? So he goes, I do 120. Still unimpressed. Ask the fourth guy. So the fourth guy, he says, I usually do 120 as well. But this morning I did 150. So then his mates go, you liar, Gujatara. So nah, Kasmi, you weren't there, I did it. 150, I did 4 sets of 150 kgs. This guy goes, man, looking at you guys, I thought you guys are tough, man. Is that all? Now he's got their attention. So he goes, what do you mean? Is that all? What do you mean? How much can you bench? So he goes, me? I bench something heavier than all of that put together. And I do it when I'm half dead. Now he's got them. What are you talking about? What's heavier than that? So he said, my duvet, godru. So they said, that's not heavy. He said, it is when the Fajr Azan is being called, or when your alarm's going off for Tahajjud Namaz. All of a sudden, you and I are testimony to this. Every morning, all of a sudden, your extra light goose feather filled duvet at Fajr time becomes the heaviest thing in the world, isn't it? So he goes, it is at Fajr time. They goes, no, it's not. So he goes, okay, brother, did you lift your duvet off yourself? Oh, no, I had a late night. The second, did you? No, I'm a heavy sleeper. No, nah, I thought you guys are tough, man. I'm tougher than all of you guys. Now he's got their attention. He's got them thinking. He goes, you know what? The Sahaba Kiram were strong outside and inside. Physically, they were very strong. Salma bin Aqwa radiallahu was a 13-year-old boy who could outrun the fastest horse. Ali radiallahu peeled off the door to the fortress, Khaybar, and used it as a shield. And when he threw it, people couldn't lift it up. So he said the Sahaba Kiram were physically strong, but more importantly, they were spiritually very strong. Their Iman was very strong. And they were physically strong because of their Iman. He said, I want to be strong like you guys. I want muscles like you guys as well. But don't you want to be strong from inside like the Sahaba Kiram? They said, yeah. So he said, you know, for the physical strength, we go to the gym. For the spiritual strength, we go to another gym, the masjid, the house of Allah. Come. And they came with him. And this is the same message for us. Today we've made all the effort. We've made effort for our deen as well. Alhamdulillah, we know all the masnoon du'as and we learn Quran surahs and some people become hafiz, mashallah, and we learn the kitabs and everything. But that effort for our iman is non-existent, due to which our iman is very weak. And when our iman is weak, the amals are weak. And when the amals are weak, you don't need me to tell you what the state of the world is right now. Muslims as well as non-Muslims. तू नहीं है इस जहां में मुंह छुपाने के लिए, तू है दुनिया भर के सोतों को जगाने के लिए. And we, you and I, Muslims, had been sent into this world in this era by Allah Ta'ala to solve the problems of the world. These, the natural disasters that are coming everywhere, tornadoes and floods and everything. One alim, he says, they're not natural disasters. Natural is this, good weather, rain at the right time, sunshine at the right time. When rain is needed for the crops, it rains. When it's not needed, or after there's enough rain in the right proportion, then it stops. That's natural. These disasters that are coming, the Maulana says, they're unnatural disasters. They're not natural disasters. They call them natural disasters. They're not. They're unnatural. Why? Because the actions of mankind have become unnatural. And this is why in our lives, the strife that we find collectively in our communities, and in the Ummah Muslimah, and the non-Muslims, and throughout the whole world, all the suffering and all the problems, all the world's problems and insecurities is due to our not having performed good actions. And this is why it's imperative, if we want the world to become a better place. One person, he went to America for 4 months. The immigration officer stopped him, took him into the office. Why are you coming to my country for 4 months? You got relatives here? No. Friends here? He goes, no. He goes, why are you coming? So he goes, have you got time? He said, yeah. He said, okay. Took him into the office. He said, get a pad. He said, I'm going to now talk to you. He said, you take notes. So the officer said, okay. This brother, then he explained to him, Iman, Amal, Qabr, Akhirat, importance of Muslims, Qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was going up for Mi'raj, he saw some certain things flying up and exiting the world, and certain things coming down from another door. He asked, what is this? These are the actions of your ummah going up, and accordingly Allah's decisions come down. Bad actions going up, inflation comes down, insecurities come down, violence comes down, wars come down, illnesses come down, plagues come down, lockdowns come down. He explained all of this. When he finished his bayan, the non-Muslim officer wiped a tear and he said, pray for me and my family. And the brother said to him before, he said, I've come to your country to stop. I hear that in your country you have a lot of tornadoes and cyclones. He said, I've come to stop them. What are you going to do? So he explained to him. Then he understood. So I'll end with this last story, brothers, to make us understand our relevance, our importance, and how we have the fate of mankind in our hands. But we have not understood our worth. We've not even understood how special we are as Muslims. How are we good to understand how much of a change we can make? Just the people sitting here. Our elders used to say, I don't need a large congregation. Just give me 313 people like the Badri Sahaba, like the Sahaba Kiram who participated in Badr. Give me 313 men with iman like theirs. I'll solve all the world's problems with the qudrat of Allah. How far are we today? Because we're too busy with our holidaying and making money and gourmet burgers. I keep talking about gourmet burgers, isn't it? I'll tell you my gourmet burger joke, isn't it? Somebody sent me a picture of a gourmet burger. I've never had one. Have never had one as well, alhamdulillah. So I said, what's that? He said, Masa is a gourmet burger. I said, what's a gourmet burger? He said, Masa, it's got chicken in it, it's got beef in it, it's got this and that. I said, then there's a skewer going through it, isn't it? A stick going through it. So I said, what's the skewer for? He said, Masa, it's so big and it's so heavy that if you take the skewer out, it falls over. To stop it toppling over, you need a stick going through it. I said, bro, you have too many of them. Pretty soon you're going to need a stick to stop you toppling over. Not very good for you, that. Musalman, Sahaba Kiram used to eat to live. Just enough to live. And we live to eat. Friday night, Saturday night, Kanzawana, try this place, try that place. They can open restaurants and takeaways on every single street corner of England. And even then we won't be satiated. You know, still, try something new myself, try something new. And people eat haram, and they send me a message, lunchtime, after Zohar, Masab, squid halal. So I think, I'm not a mufti, so I go on, I find Mufti Sahib's fatwa, I send it. Few seconds later, oops. Oops. What's happened? I know what's happened. Probably gone for a business lunch, keeping up appearances, want to show that, I'm a gentleman as well, I'm educated as well. I think I'll order squid as well, You, bhai, haram khai lido. Masa lobster, masa shark, masa aite. What's the other one? Sushi. I said, what's sushi? Sushi. Masa, I love sushi. I said, what's sushi? So he described it to me. I go, kachi machli. You're going to eat raw fish. Wasabi. Dip it in there and eat it. I said, do I look crazy? Bhai, dar chawal diyo to bhai. Pass me the dar chawal. But this is what happened. So I'll give you this last example before the pizzas go cold. But brothers, then you got to give me your intentions, yes? Jazakallah. This story illustrates to us where we are going wrong and what we need to do. There was a Muslim ruler by the name of Khalifa Mahdi, Harun Rashid's father. He was a very neck person, but in his time a famine fell upon them. So because he was such a good king and concerned about his people, he went to all efforts and expended lots of wealth to try to alleviate the suffering of the people. He had grain and rice imported from neighboring countries and he's going all out. But animals are dying, people are suffering, and so people are coming to his door and he can't see the suffering of the people, and because of that he's not eating and he's not sleeping and he's crying. So his slave was on the ball, but at the end of the day the slave knew the solution to the problem, but the king also knew the solution, but the king was so engrossed in his affairs that it skipped his mind. So the slave wanted to tell him, but how could you tell him? He's just a slave and that guy's a king. How can you advise a king? So he was looking for an opportunity. One night, the Khalifa comes into his room, into his chambers, and he says, I've not eaten, I've not slept for so many days, do jumpy, do malish, rub some oil into my head, perhaps I'll fall asleep tonight. So the slave starts rubbing the oil into his head. Then the king says to him, tell me a story, perhaps I'll fall asleep. So the slave thought, this is my opportunity. Da'i, an inviter, always looks for an opportunity. You go out in the path of Allah, you get the understanding, you come home, then you got to look for an opportunity to give dawah to your mom, to your dad, to your brothers, to your sisters. So he found the opportunity. He said, Bacha, I only know one story. He said, tell me.
Come, brothers. Your chance to talk now. You've been a fantastic audience.
There was a lion.
You've been very good, brothers.
And one day,
so now,
this fox
if you've listened carefully and attentively, you've not had your phones
I'm
out,
going to meet my
then,
relatives on the other side of the jungle.
mashallah, brothers, the intention should flow. Don't leave the gathering, otherwise the effect will go. Once the effect is still there, stand up, bite the bullet, and make the intention. Don't think too much. Nothing is going to happen. Everything to gain, nothing to lose.
I'll look after him.
Come, brothers.
Befikar, go. Enjoy yourself. Have a good time.
Mashallah.
I'll look after your cub.
These youngsters are giving names.
The
other youngsters who still think they are young, but they're not. They're getting on now.
Animal hyena.
Spare tires are peeling around the midriff. We're getting on now, brothers. Those youngsters also requested to give their intentions. MashaAllah.
So this is going.
If you're under 15, you can still give your name. Under 16, but then you have to get your dad ready. Your dad has to go with you.
MashaAllah. Thinks, whoa, that's my lunch. Swoops down, grabs the cub.
No, 10 days, brothers.
And the lion is left.
Look, I'll be honest with you, brothers. I'll be honest with you. This is from experience.
The mother comes back,
and you will verify this as well if you're honest.
But I left him with you.
Because I've been in the 10-day Jamaat.
Nothing I could do.
With the tawfiq of Allah. And I've also been in the 5-day Jamaat.
He said,
I've been in the 3-day Jamaat as well.
The jungle.
Alhamdulillah, all of them are rewarding, all of them are beneficial.
If a calamity had come from the earth,
but
I could have fended
what I found is in the 3-day Jamaat,
came from the heavens.
It was just
I was
like
helpless.
a massive
I could do nothing.
bash.
So he tells him the story, the slave.
They had the Morrison's revolving door.
Dear respected Khalifa,
used to enter and to exit.
Your honor.
Somebody's coming, somebody's going, somebody's coming, somebody's going.
From the earth,
I went and joined one Jamaat from Darul Quran one day. I got there at night and they said, what's up, you should have come last night. I said, why? There were 23 of us.
Calamity from the heavens.
8 people have gone back.
Only he can
now you've come and some more are coming, and that's what happens. On, off, on. And it's very hard to control.
He just needed
and because of that, what happens?
He went,
people are on the phones.
Performed 2 rakat salat.
Hazrat Maulana Yaqub Sahib used to say,
cried so much.
When mobile phones
he wet the musalla with his tears.
Dominant. In India, he used to say, "Ye dajjali quwwaton ka
this is the problem today. We are not willing."
He says, "This is the last ploy of the people of falsehood to destroy our
Why?
iman."
Because we're busy doing our own thing.
Come on, brothers. Yeah, put their names down.
Because our iman is not permitted. This is why, brothers, it's imperative that you, all of us.
So, brothers, you go in the 3 days, 5 days, alhamdulillah, it's still beneficial. You still get
whether we're studying in
madrasa after talim, I see people on the phone.
We still need to
away all your nur again.
Mufti Sahib comes with us.
True benefit is we have to immerse ourselves in the experience.
When we ask them, they say
10 days of just listening to this, speaking about this, repeating this. Our iman will be supercharged. You see for yourself,
you have been a wonderful audience, mashallah, given me your undivided attention. So I know that within 5 minutes you will give me your intentions to go out in the path of Allah.
For most of us, you ask
10 days, 5 days, 3 days, whatever you can do.
Starving in
Ramadan, quickly.
Getting to wear new clothes on Eid, eating loads of
and in these holidays,
Eid al-Adha.
In these holidays, give me intentions for these holidays.
No, there's much more.
Some Jamaats have already gone out.
There's a
Friday more Jamaats will be going out.
There's a sweetness in Eid. Why was it the Sahaba
Mashallah, Allah
gave so many sacrifices?
Allah make
once the Sahaba went out in the path of Allah,
come brothers,
started walking, scorching heat, walked so much
everyone got some time off.
They got their clothes, they ripped them, they tied them as rugs on their feet, kept on walking.
All the brothers that you see,
kept on walking.
The youngsters, the
barefoot,
30, the 40 something that you see in Bolton around you, who are engaged in the effort.
Because they had a
once upon a time, they were 14, 15-year-olds, and they. So come, brothers. MashaAllah. Allah kabul 10 days. He's just come back from 40 days, mashallah. Allah kabul.
Especially
and
the older
in these
people.
holidays, they went out in the path of Allah.
Yes,
and this was a revolutionary feature in their lives.
We're very fortunate.
Changed after that.
Last year,
we go in the Christmas holidays, and what will happen?
January they benefit.
One automatically February, March, April, May, June, July. When come July, automatically will go for 40 days.
Fall in the path of
come,
Allah.
brothers, mashallah.
One headache in the path of Allah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, a person who gets
MashaAllah,
a
Allah
headache in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he
and
gets
if you
a
go
reward.
for 3 days, you leave your
He
phone
gets
at
all
home,
of
you
his
spend your
sins
time
forgiven.
well, those 3 days will very
For
easily
one
become
headache,
10
you get a headache
days.
all the time. Wife nags to
And
you,
you'll never
get a
regret
headache.
it.
You didn't get eat,
Come
get a
brother,
headache.
MashaAllah,
On your
Allahu
phone,
Akbar.
you get a headache.
MashaAllah.
But in the path of Allah,
Do that.
headache, Allahu Akbar. And a person who goes in the path of Allah gets a temperature, fever. One day's
Come on,
fever
quickly, the
is
pizza's,
equivalent to 1 year's
getting cold.
nafil ibadat, 1 year's worship.
MashaAllah, Allah
Allahu
accept,
Akbar.
MashaAllah.
So he fell ill, but he wasn't lucky enough to get accepted. He came back.
How long is Khalid ready for?
Like I went to meet one brother and he said that, you know,
Allah
I said,
accept,
I heard that in
If we're doing 3 days, it's got to be a full 3
Proper
days.
serious.
And not like a weekend Jamaat.
In Mina. I said, oh. He said, yeah, operated on me. And he said, but you know,
Full 3 days.
missed out, man. Imagine if I
72
would've
hours.
done that.
Come on, brothers.
In Ihram, in Hajj.
MashaAllah,
I said,
MashaAllah.
man, that's for the fortunate ones. Allah Ta'ala grant us all. Maybe next time. So, brothers, make intention, inshallah. And no, that brother,
Come
he
on,
fell ill.
brothers.
He was still laughing. Because the hardships of the path of Allah,
If
is
there's
still
some brothers
enjoyable.
going for 10 days,
So बड़ी उम्र के
then
हजरत
the 3
फरमाए
days
भाई
will go with them.
हमारी
And if
जिम्मेदारी
they
है
don't
हम
take their
उम्मत है
phones, they
हम
spend the time
रसूलुल्लाह
well,
सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की
automatically
उम्मत
they'll
से
come
हैं
and say,
हमारी
"How
जिम्मेदारी
will
है
you
दावत
Others
देना
with us every
आज लोग
year.
कहा करते हैं
A few of our
कि भाई
mashallah
गैर
elders
मुस्लिमों
like
को
Brother
दावत देनी
Zubair,
चाहिए
Abdul Rahman, they go for 10 days.
कोई शक
The
नहीं
others
उसमें
go along with them
जाओ
for 3
हमारे
days.
जहांगीर
but they
भाई
spend
भाई
their
है
time well,
जहांगीर भाई हमारे
and they listen to the
मस्जिद
talks.
के मुसल्ली है कि नहीं
गिर जाने हूँ करवाना.
और ये
And they
बिल्ला भाई
extend 10 days.
इजाज़
And
भाई
nobody has ever
they
regretted
go
spending time in
town
the path of
center
Allah.
every Saturday
We have
4-5
nothing to
hours
lose, everything to
in
gain.
Bolton town center
Come
they give
brothers.
दावत to
Even if
non-Muslims
you're giving intention for
बहुत
3
शौक
days,
है
it's
जाओ
okay.
उनके साथ
Stand up, give your
खड़े हो
intentions, inshallah. 3
Go
days,
there,
mashallah,
give
mashallah.
dawah to
But be a
non-Muslims.
man.
But
If you
our
spend
work,
10 days,
their
when
work
you
is
come
very
home,
good, Beshak.
check
No,
your chest,
no
you'll have
negating
hair
that.
on your
I
chest.
support that. I'm always asking them
मर्द
how they're
बनेगा
doing.
ना.
But our work is a different work. It's a higher work. Because, as one of our brothers said,
Come
if
on,
the
brothers.
Muslims become Muslims,
Be a
the whole
man.
world will become Muslims. I asked one brother who gives dawah to non-Muslims,
घर पे बैठना भी कोई
converted a lot
काम
of
है?
people.
Is that to
I
stay
said,
at
how many
home? Is
people
that
stay in touch with you?
a
How many
job
people
for a
call you
man?
back?
वो तो औरतों का काम है. Women stay at home. घर पे होना भी कोई
He said, never.
काम
maybe.
से? भाई
Maybe
अल्लाह के
one-
रास्ते में सहाबा किराम were always striving.
What happens? They go back to
Come,
their
brothers,
environment.
mashallah.
They mix with
No brother
Muslims.
should be left
and
in
they
this
see Islam
auspicious
believe.
mashallah gathering. You've been such
So
a
this
good
effort
audience.
is to make
So
ourselves Muslim.
welcoming, so warm, mashallah. So no
So
brother
भाई ये
should be
हमारी
left without
जिम्मेदारी है.
intention. Every
हम
brother
अगर
give
इस उम्मत
intention,
में ऐसी
inshallah.
इबादत कर रहे हैं
Even
हम
the
खतरे
young
में हैं.
ladies,
ये
give
मेरी बात
intention.
नहीं, ये बड़ों की बात है.
And then go get your dad
अल्लाह
ready.
पाक ने हमें दावत की जिम्मेदारी
Go
दी
home and
है.
get your dad ready. Then you can
उलमाए
go with your
किराम तो
dad.
कर
if
रहे
you
हैं
don't do
दावत
it.
की मेहनत.
माशाल्लाह.
तकरीर के
Mashallah.
जरिए से तदरीस के जरिए से. But for us अवाम हम क्या कर रहे
All
हैं?
the brothers are
इबादत
back,
पे
mashallah,
इत्तेफा
give them the
करके बैठे हैं.
intentions.
तो
I
क़यामत के
think
दिन
you need to
पूछोगी
move
कि
over
भाई
here now.
मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की उम्मत में से थे, आपकी तो जिम्मेदारी थी. कुरान में बार-बार अल्लाह पाक ने फरमाया.
Come brothers, brothers
एक
in the
बहुत
middle.
बड़े अरब के
Even the
आलिम थे,
brothers who
उनके
are
पास
out
एक
in the
नौजवान
path of
गया.
Allah for 3
उसने
days,
कहा कि मैं वालिदैन की खिदमत
they
करता
can
हूँ.
also
मैंने
extend
हज पर ये
inshallah.
मैं ज़कात देता
10
हूँ, मैं
days
ये करता
inshallah.
हूँ, वो करता हूँ, सारे अमल गिनवाए.
3 to 5.
तबलीग के
Come
अलावा.
on brothers.
उसने कहा कि क्या आपको मेरे बारे में
Oh
कोई
brothers
खौफ
who
है,
are
कोई
out in the
खतरा
path
है?
of Allah, renew your intention.
तो कहा कि
चले भाई.
वल्लाहि अख्शा
Come on.
अलैक, मुझे बड़ा डर है तेरे लिए. I fear for you. So why? जैसे तू अमर भी मारूफ नहीं है मुनकर नहीं करता. You don't do the effort of dawat.
Come on brothers.
So I still fear for you despite your salat and your roza and your hajj and everything. You're not fulfilling your obligation. So
When I
brothers,
go
we all
back,
have a responsibility.
Every time I deliver a
Yes,
bayan, I
okay,
go
if
back.
you want to go and invite non-Muslims, go join these brothers. Try.
How
See
much was the
hard it is.
congregation? How were the
But
congregation?
this is also
So I'm
an
going to
effort.
say for question
Come with
question
us.
number 1, I say
path of
mashallah,
Allah.
good attendance. How
Make
were they?
effort on
Mashallah,
ourselves. Make
fantastic.
effort on
listen
our
really well.
brethren.
Then third question,
Come brothers,
tashkil.
make intention.
That's the
बड़ी
most
उम्र के हजरत
important
फरमाए
one.
भाई,
How many brothers give
कब
their
तक
names? I don't
दुनिया
want to say
कमाते
10
रहेंगे,
brothers give their
इंशाल्लाह
names.
इंशाल्लाह कहते
From
रहेंगे.
Masjid Salaam. Come on brothers.
Come
Chalo
brothers.
bhai. Give
क्या
intention.
करें, भाव
inshallah.
गिरा दे, 5 दिन पे आ जाए.
Oh,
Right, I've got
mashallah.
10. Sajid, how many names have we got?
If a person
Oh,
can't give
mashallah,
10 days
mashallah.
Corner, yeah?
20.
for a real
30,
reason,
30,
not because of
mashallah,
laziness,
mashallah.
not because of Boxing Day
Okay,
sales.
one more minute, brothers. Anyone who's feeling shy, come
You
on,
really
brothers.
can't give 10
And you
days
know what
and give
happens?
intention for 5 days. Come
You
brothers.
stand up. You stand up. Many people are thinking, sitting behind you, thinking, if he
Everyone
stands
should
up,
give
I'll stand up.
intention, inshallah.
And you're looking at them thinking, if
Come,
he stands
brothers.
up, he stands up. But don't,
Think about
everyone
the
gets
cover.
left then. You
You're gonna
stand
be there
up
alone.
and
I'm gonna
it'll
be there
motivate someone
alone.
else. So break that barrier and
The
just stand
pounds
up,
and
inshallah.
pennies
We're
and
not
the
shy
contacts
when it comes to football games
and the
stuff,
friends
Team scores a
are not
goal,
gonna help us.
puts a jumper
Nothing
over his
is gonna
head,
avail us.
runs
Only
around the
our
living room
amal.
like a lunatic,
Only
and then
our
crashes
actions.
into the wall. and gets his friend to record it as well and send it
Come,
to
brother.
him. Tima sharam nahi aave. We're not ashamed then, but to stand in the tasking we feel ashamed, embarrassed. So there should be no embarrassment, inshallah, brother. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Come, brothers. Have you given your name, brother? Yes, so renew your intention. I said, brothers in Jamaat, stand up. Come on. Dr. Saab?
Come on, man. Renew your intention. क्या मालूम अल्लाह को रहम आ जाए, अल्लाह 10 दिन के लिए कबूल कर ले. माशाल्लाह, माशाल्लाह. Idris, माशाल्लाह. Allah कबूल फरमाए, माशाल्लाह. Who knows, Allah might accept you for 10 days.
Amen.
You're looking worried. माशाल्लाह, माशाल्लाह. Allah कबूल फरमाए, माशाल्लाह. हाफिज मकसूद साहब, माशाल्लाह. Shall we send the rest of the brothers up to eat? And the brothers, you're going to eat here. So brothers who are going to eat come to one side, and brothers who are going Jamaat come to one side. Yeah. Okay, brothers. What we're going to do is we'll make a short dua. After the dua, all the brothers who have made intentions, inshallah, just collect in that corner, so we can get some details down. Inshallah, even brothers who've not made intention, who felt too embarrassed, but got some kind of intention in your heart, before it goes, get your name down. So those brothers collect in that corner, whilst the brothers part of the dastakhan here. Okay, brothers? Inshallah. ठीक. Okay, brothers, come to the front. Those brothers who made intention after the dua, inshallah.
Whoever made intention, come to the front, yeah?
MashaAllah, Allah Ta'ala accept all you brothers. Allah Ta'ala accept intentions of all the brothers who made intentions. And those brothers who haven't made intentions, Allah Ta'ala accept them as well. Likewise, brothers, every day Talim takes place in the masjid. Brothers go out in Gash. So even if you've not gone out in Jamaat, or if you come back from Jamaat, join in the daily amals, inshallah. It will be very beneficial. Allah Ta'ala give me and all of us the tawfiq. اللهم لك الحمد كله ولك الشكر كله ولك الملك كله ولك العز كله بيدك الخير كله وإليك يرجع الأمر كله. اللهم لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى. اللهم اهد الناس والجان جميعا. اللهم اهد أهل هذه الحارة. اللهم اهد أهل هذا البلد. اللهم اهد أهل هذه القرية. اللهم اهد أهل هذه المنطقة. اللهم اهد أهل هذه الدولة. اللهم اهد هذه الحكومة. اللهم اهد الناس والجان جميعا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى. اللهم استعملنا لدينك. اللهم استعملنا ولا تستبدلنا. اللهم أحيي الدين كله في العالم كله إلى يوم القيامة واستعملنا لهذا. اللهم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك التواب الرحيم واشف مرضانا واشف مرضى المسلمين واغفر موتانا وموتى المسلمين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك التواب الرحيم. آمين 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 برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Jazakumullah. Brothers, please stay for the food, inshallah. The brothers are just putting out the dastakhan. And brothers who made intention, come over here. Jazakumullah.
Assalamu alaikum. Just like Maulana Sahib said,